Hi everybody, it's Gail from Gail's Bookish Things. Happy Friday. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about how I've switched up my ink swatching system, at least for now. It's kind of an evolving thing always, but this seems to be working. And I just wanted to talk about the currently inked pens and what my focus has been. So to back up a little bit, what I had been doing is in my ink swatch notebook, which I have mixed up. This is now my rustic Kodiak that I'm using for my ink notebook. Anyway, I was doing this sort of thing where I would make a little triangle or a little rectangle, little swatch, tell what ink I was using and what pen, and then just a little commentary. So impressions, ink color, pen, and nib. So that was fun, and it was kind of a nice record of what I was using. If I was getting mixed up on my colors, I could just refer to this and see, for example, oh yeah, that was pumpkin cake, and this is ancient copper. They're similar, so they're easy to get mixed up, that sort of thing. However, I was finding that doing this system really didn't give me a good overall impression of an ink and a pen combination long term. So it was good for first impressions, not good for long term. I have a section for Tomoe River paper. This is the new Tomoe River, the Sanzen Tomoe River paper, and then I have another insert, which is Cosmo Air Light. I'm going to get this all mixed up. I know, that's why I have it clipped together. But I was doing the same thing. So right away I could evaluate. I love it on the Cosmo Air. I don't like it on the Tomoe, whatever. It was good, again, for first impressions. However, not long term. Just to recap what I've just said. So I decided that I would take a couple inks, one or two inks for a little while in a couple different pens, and decide how I like that ink in more than one pen. What is my overall impression of an ink? I have decided to do this because I'm sort of getting to a point of, well, I have always been at this point, but not wanting to just accumulate bottles and bottles of ink that I can never get through. I really wanted to develop a solid opinion on the inks that I have, or even samples that I'm trying, before buying one, and also deciding, yes, maybe I can just get rid of this bottle of ink. I don't like it. I can pass it on to somebody else that might like it. Okay, so what I did over the past week or so was to put Edelstein Olivine in my TWSBI Diamond 580. This is a broad nib. And also to put it in my Leonardo. This is a broad nib as well. It's the Memento Zero, and the color is blue-green lagoon or something along those lines. I just specify Leonardo because that's the only one I have. So I really liked doing these circle swatches. I believe I first saw that on Leanne Likes, and I like how this method gives you a nice little sampling of the ink and the different properties of it in a bigger form that's a little more loosely defined than the triangles. Or why do I say triangle? I do know my shapes. Rectangles. Okay, so back to this. I had that ink, and I was testing it on Tomoe River, and I was testing it on the Cosmo Air Light, and I've been testing it on Regalia paper. This is called the Regalia Recorder. I bought this, oh, I don't know, several months ago. I use this for taking notes at church, in Sunday school class, and in the sermon, and I really am liking this paper quite a bit. And just a little side note, it has been confirmed by another source that Cosmo Air Light is being discontinued. So I have incorporated a new paper in my swatching evaluation process so that I can find a new paper that delights me as much as Cosmo Air. Okay, so that being said, I started out doing Tomoe River and Cosmo Air, but I'm finding that I have mixed feelings about the Tomoe River paper. The new one is nice. I like it. I like the crinkly aspect. I like the thinness of the pages. But I don't like my handwriting as well. When I write with an ink, obviously I write with an ink, with a fountain pen ink on this paper, I feel like my pen is slipping all over. And I have watched some other YouTube videos where they're saying the same thing. So I thought it was just me being weird, but others have commented that certain papers people like or don't like based on maybe you could say the slippery quality, to use unprofessional terms. And that is so true for me because I like what I see with Tomoe. I like how it feels, but I don't like the feeling that my pen is sliding across the page and my writing is sloppy. I liked to write with fountain pens for the sheer pleasure of writing. It's just wonderful to write with for me. I enjoy the process, and I find I enjoy it a little less because of that aspect. So what I'm thinking is, I still have a lot of paper left in this notebook, so it may be worth it to keep swatching in it because as far as I know, the Sanzen Tomoe River will be around for a while. So it's a good option to keep available, and I don't want to close my thinking on it. But I am kind of thinking, should it be on the back burner? Should I care that much how I like a pen and ink on a paper that I am not automatically drawn to? So that is a little bit of the dilemma, but I'm keeping that door open. While keeping that door open, I'm realizing that I have really liked the Regalia paper, and I have determined that it is worth doing a focused swatching evaluation. So I bought a new one. This is the Ocean Blue. I've been into blues lately. It is blue. And it's so funny. Anyway, I decided to go ahead and use this notebook as a supplementary swatching book. I would like to fit it in my standard regular size notebook. However, I'm not sure that this paper is available in that size. I guess I could go to their website and double check that. I didn't see it, but I may be mistaken. Anyway, I could cut this down also. But in case I decide not to do this, I will keep all these extra pages available for note-taking. So let's look at then what the two inks in the currently inked pens are. These two both have the Olivine Edelstein by Pelikan, anyway, all kinds of names there. This is a beautiful green. It's a subtle green. It's a soft green, but it's very clear and easy to read. And in these big swatches, it has a little bit of red sheening. I do not pick up on that with my writing, though, at all. Definitely visible in the big swatches. I do not see it when I'm writing with it. Let's clip these back together for easy flipping. But again, very pleasant on Tomoe, less control for me. Wonderful on Cosmo Air, and equally as wonderful on the Regalia. I like this green. I feel like it's just a soothing color. It's not obnoxious. The bright colors are fun, but for me to long-term writing or to maybe go back and look up something, I prefer a softer color. So that's my opinion of the Edelstein Olivine. I've had this for a while, and I do like this. I think my friend Donna first introduced me to this ink by sending me a sample, if I'm not mistaken, and it has been a pretty much a go-to ink. I haven't used it in a while. I'm glad to revisit it. Super enjoying that ink, and it's the kind of green I like. Just some longer writing samples. This is on the Regalia. It is more of a white paper, maybe just slightly off-white, not super bright, but I find that I don't mind it. I like the consistency of the paper so much. So these two pens on all these combinations, but especially Cosmo and Regalia, have been wonderful. Writing with this Diamond 580 is just wonderful. I love it. I love it so much. And it's about run out. I'm tempted to refill it, but I kind of want to press on with my exploration of ink and pen combinations. So I may just use that up and set that aside for a while. Same with this. I refilled it twice. And I want to just take a quick peek. Still have a bit there. I do wrap this washi around the knob there because it kind of rattles, and that really bugs me. So anyway, really nice. This is, they both feel different. They're both broad, but they do have a different feel to them. Of course, different makes and so forth. So both are very pleasant, and I feel like my writing with this is just really readable, very smooth, but kind of a crisper line. It's not a super broad. You can see it here. Maybe you can see it. It's funny, those are super similar looking. But both are just so satisfying to write with. The other color I focused on over the past week or so was Diatramentis Alexander Hamilton. That's in this bottle. It's a good amount of ink, made in Germany, and it's also called Aubergine. So I find that this combination in my Opus 88 is like almost addictive. It is, well, all of these, I don't want to stop writing. It's like, what can I write? What can I write? It's so satisfying. This holds a ton of ink. I didn't make it all the way full. This is an eyedropper pen, by the way. Don't be like me and dip it in the ink and twist this over and over and wonder why it's not filling. Duh. I had to really get used to the fact that it is a eyedropper fill. I love this pen. I love holding the pen. I love this color orange. This makes me think of like candy up here. It is amazing with Noodler's Southwest / Apache Sunset ink. Perfect combination. And also a wonderful combination together in this pen. I mean, the colors don't go, if that matters to you, whereas the Southwest Sunset does match us marvelously. But this is, again, such a pleasant writing experience. You have to keep this, okay, gotta take off that. You have to, like, I have to keep this open, and when I forget to, then it starts to run dry, and it's like, what's going on here? But as long as that's kept open, it allows the ink to continually flow, and it is just a juicy writer, much broader of a line, maybe a little less tidy looking, but it just flows, and it's so smooth. I do not get much shading at all with the Alexander Hamilton, but I love this kind of purple. I don't know how to specify that. It's just, to me, like a nice, deep, true purple, and aubergine or / eggplant really does describe, I think, the writing well. It looks like an eggplant color. Super wonderful to write with. Let's look at it on the Tomoe River. I kind of got a little too close to the edge. Here I'm getting the sheening quality, which is a gold and it's very pretty, but I just really don't see it too much in the writing, other than maybe like in a dotted I or something like that, a little bit here on the 8s. It's not real apparent to me in my combinations so far. And let's see if I have, well, let's go back here. I did do a sample on the Regalia, and you can see the sheening there. And you can see a little bit more shading. This feels so good. There is some feedback, but it's not like scratchy or dry feeling. I'm seeing a little of the sheen on the TRP letters there. So this paper, from what I have been reading and hearing, is super good on showing sheening qualities and shading in inks. So that has me pretty excited too, as a replacement for the Cosmo Air. I bought a whole bunch of Cosmo Air light standard size inserts from Paper Penguin Company on Etsy. When I heard first heard they were going out, I probably have like, I don't know, 8 in stock, but they will run out eventually. So I'm really wanting to have this backup as another paper, another go-to paper. And just to check and see if I have lengthy writing on this paper. Took notes Sunday, so yes, I am getting some sheening. Doubtful whether it is showing through for you, but it does add a little bit of, the ink does have a little bit of that quality, but it's not like super apparent as in some inks. But you can see I just wrote and wrote. Oh my goodness, didn't have any problem with the pen running dry at all. Absolutely wonderful. So yeah, I would say try the Endless brand Regalia paper. That is a paper made in India. And then the last one that I have not swatched yet, and in honor of upcoming St. Patrick's Day, I took my TWSBI Eco Tea in Royal Jade. It's got the rose gold hardware, I guess you could call it, and then this deep greenish jade color. I put Noodler's Green Marine in here, and it is writing wonderfully. I think it was in this notebook. I'm not sure if it's showing up, but on the printing, you're getting a ton of shading. I've never really noticed this ink, this Green Marine, to have such a shading quality, and it really is coming out on this paper, and it is a delightful writing. It's plenty flowy, it's plenty wet, it's smooth. You get just a little bit of feedback on this paper, but not in a negative way, but just that, like, sensing the nib on the paper and the sound that goes with that. But it is very smooth writing, and I don't know, I was super happy with that. Again, an ink that's kind of been on my shelf for a while. I use it off and on. This is one of my first purchases back in my, about 3 years ago when I first started this journey, and I was looking for just a green. This is just a green. It's like crayon green, but I like that it's bright, it's readable. It's not so flowy that it's like just a mess, although that feels wonderful to write with. I just find it to be a very controlled combination with this pen on this paper, and I will probably swatch that on in my 3 areas. So after I've used this for the week or into St. Patrick's Day week, I will go ahead and do a similar swatching. My intent is to leave a little room. So like I have a swatch. I talked about the 2 pens in that swatch, just 1 pen right now. I want to leave some blank spaces so I can evaluate the same ink in other pens down the road. I'm not going to use them all at once. That would get too tedious, but for a long-term assessment, I think this is a really good setup. This is fun. The original plan was fun. And I kind of like seeing all the colors together. I'll probably keep up with that, but to really decide if I like an ink, I'm excited about an ink, I want to keep that bottle or buy a bottle if I'm just using a sample. This is much more helpful to me, and just having a few inked up pens and using them several times throughout the week in one or two different kinds of pens gives a much better sense of how I feel about it than just doing a quick little swatch and then having 10 pens inked, not being able to decide what to use at the moment, and not really going that deep with a combination. I also had this inked for a while with Writer's Blood. I thought this Conklin Cornet, I think this is also called lime, or not lime, olive, was fun for St. Patrick's Day month. I kind of think of March in that way, but it ran out already, but it was a good combination too. Let me show you what that looks like. It's a very deep burgundy color, and you do get some sheen with it, a gold sheen. It is a wonderful ink. It really flows superbly out of this pen. But it's not my favorite color ink. I like how it feels. I like how it works. To me, how it looks is not quite as appealing, but it's a good combination. So that will probably be talked about in here too. Well, you know, I don't know. I've yet to determine if I'm going to do that. I don't feel like I use this long enough to make a super good evaluation, but maybe I'll go back, re-ink it, and think about it a little bit more. I started out with 2 pens. This one is not inked. I ended up with 4 inked, which went against my self-imposed rule for the week. But St. Patrick's Day focus, this is still pretty inked up, and this is about empty, so I'll be back down to 3 before too long. But anyway, that's where my brain has been going with the ink evaluation process, determining what I like, what works for me, what inks maybe I can pass along or think of another use for. And just try to keep the number of inks that I have, and the ones that I have, ones that just are delightful. Okay, let me just say this. One last thing. I was watching Simone, and she was evaluating some inks and things like this. And one thing that she said that really stuck with me is, does it bring me joy? And that was like an aha moment. I mean, how many times have we heard that? And I think that philosophy is a wonderful one when you're talking about pen and ink combinations. This is a hobby. This is something we do for the sheer delight of enjoying writing with fountain pens. So there doesn't need to be this sense of obligation of, I've got to finish this 40 milliliter bottle of ink that I hate so that I can feel justified in writing with one that I like. That's like how I am. And it was just so dumb. It's like, keep the inks you like, decide which ones you like, put them in pens where you like the combination. You don't have to suffer through something for the sake of suffering through a combination that is not delightful. This should be about joy, the pleasure of writing with a fountain pen, not any obligation, not any have-to thing. If it's a have-to, it ceases to be joyful, and why do it? So I think that does it bring you joy is a great philosophy in this realm. I don't think that should apply to everything in life. I do think it should definitely apply to fountain pens and ink combinations. So there, that is a little bit lengthy of a talk today, but I've really been enjoying this closer focus, minimal pens. Okay, we can take that one out. And just really concentrating on how good of a writing experience is this. Hope you have a great weekend. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon. Take care.